as of today, 10/13/25, it is being reported from multiple sources that Rob Thompson will be brought back in 2026 as the Phillies managers. And I have very, very, very mixed thoughts on this, both good and bad. Let's get into it now. As I said, I have very, very mixed reactions to Rob Thompson coming back. And let's look at this first from the positives. Again, this guy has been there with the club for the last couple years now since Girardi was removed, and he's provided stability, something that they didn't have in that moment. And not only did he provide stability, he ended up providing a little bit more than that. He got them to the World Series. Yes, of course, he's not a player, but he managed that team. He made the decisions, and they got to the World Series that year. The next year, they get to the NLCS, Game 7, fall just a game short of going back to the World Series. And then it starts to get a little bit bleaker. In 2024, they pretty much no-show, and they only win one game of the NLDS versus the New York Mets. And then this year, we had the same result, but even worse. The Phillies go down 0-2. They do win one game, but that was on the road, and they lose again in 4 games in the NLDS to the Dodgers. So it's very interesting to see where I'm at with this, because again, it seems like the players like him. It seems like he pushes the right buttons, and I don't want to understate the regular season, the 162. He does a great job of getting that as well. Again, he turned them around in the 2022 season to get them into the playoffs. 2023, they didn't start hot, but then they started to finish well. 2024, they didn't finish great, but they started super well. They ended up winning the division. And then this year again, you end up winning the NL East. You were in a battle with the New York Mets, but you ended up getting it done. So he's shown that, hey, I can get these guys into the playoffs, whether we are going to even win the division or not. I can get us a division. I can get us a bye. He's a great regular season manager, and I have to give him credit for that, because that's something, again, that shouldn't be downplayed. That still matters at the end of the day, at the bottom line. It's not all about the playoffs, though it is when it comes to results, but still you have to get there. It's about the journey. How is he pitching guys? How is he, again, managing certain lineups? Is he finding his lineups in, June, July, August that are really going to mesh, that are then going to produce for us in September and October? Those are the things that I think he is pretty good at. And again, I think he overall is again a solid manager. It's not like he's a bad manager, but where I have my negatives is really, again, it's more nitpicking, and it's mostly going to be this series. But it's just some of his decisions. When you look back at them, especially with data and everything, it just doesn't really make sense. First off, again, why David Robertson in Game 1? I've gone on about this a billion times at this point, but why David Robertson in Game 1? Yes, I know you like the pitching matchup, but out of every single pitcher you could have pitched from, mind you, they were all on a weekday rest. You go to the 40-year-old and then ask him to do an up-down, which is pretty much him pitching another inning, which he never did this entire year. I just didn't understand that one from Thompson. When Stott went for the bunt, he was trying to get a runner to advance over to third. Of course, out of every single runner they're trying to do this with, though, it is Nick Castellanos. Again, I understand the thought process, but was the actual execution in the player that you're asking this to do, was that the right thing from you? In my opinion, it wasn't. Nick is probably the slowest player on the team other than Alec Boehm. I don't think that was the right play. And then, again, it's been the main story since the game ended on Game 4. But it's happened in Game 1. It happened in Game 2. We've seen it multiple times. We saw it earlier in the year as well in the regular season. Why go to Kerkering in some of these situations where he has a guy on base? Now, I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, who else would you have pitched? I honestly would have thrown Tanner Scott out there in Game 1 or 2 just to see what does this guy have. This guy did a great job of getting out of bases when people were on base throughout the regular season. And I don't even know if he pitched at all in the postseason this year. So times like that, again, it's just like, dude, I feel like Rob at times is just a really, really loyal guy, which I've said again in my videos. It's not a bad thing. It's just loyalty in the big moments when you have to make big decisions and you're ignoring the clear data. I'm referencing Kerkering here. That shows that he is not good with runners inherited. He's good when it's a clean inning, when there's no one on base. But when runners are inherited, this guy is one of the worst in the MLB. Yet you continued to pitch him in multiple situations throughout the series against the Dodgers. And then you pitch him in the biggest moment when you could have left Luzardo in, which again, hindsight's 2020. But I don't know. There's just a lot of interesting decisions there that I don't know if they were necessarily fire-worthy, but they definitely impacted the game. Now, again, I've said this in multiple of my videos, but I'll say it again just in case this is your first time watching me. I still, at the end of the day, my main blame for this loss for the Phillies in the series against the Dodgers was the bats. It was 100% the bats. The bats, they went cold. And again, your manager can't hit. He just sets the lineup. He just works with the talent that he's been given. So that's always on really just the players. He can only do so much. But for me, again, it's just the decisions that, these decisions, you think they don't matter. But once you get to October, these are the ones that really get dissected and the ones that, they'll keep you up at night. And again, it's just why David Robertson? Why try to have Nick run? Why try to pitch Kerkering in these high leverage situations with guys on base? It just didn't make sense to me. And that's where I was kind of leaning towards firing Rob, to be honest, just because my thought process was, wow, this guy showed me that he's a good regular season manager, but he can't manage in high leverage situations in the postseason consistently, at least. Because I will give him credit. I really liked what he did in Game 3. He handled Aaron Nola very well and then handled Ranger even better. But again, that also just makes me think, why didn't we pitch Ranger earlier in the series? You were saving him all the way for Game 3 when you were down 0-2. I just didn't get it. There was a lot of decisions that I personally didn't like, and I honestly would have been probably okay with moving on from Rob Thompson. I would say I was really indifferent. I was never necessarily the biggest Rob guy, but also definitely didn't hate him like other people did. But this year, it kind of swayed me a little bit just because, again, his bullpen decisions were just not it. And I am curious to see, how is this going to look in 2026? Did he learn from some of his mistakes? Will the team continue to respond to him as well? I'm sure they're going to get a couple new faces in that building when it comes to the players. But a lot of that team still, not necessarily all of them are going to be the same, but you're going to have a lot of that core there still. You're still 100% having Harper and Trey Turner there. And you're going to have a couple other guys there, some of the pitchers, some of the lower hitters. So I'm just curious. I'm curious to see how he does. Again, I have very mixed thoughts on this because part of me is like, you should have fired him because of these decisions. But part of me is also like, who would you have gotten better on the market right now that would have actually done a better job than Rob Thompson? And again, I think Rob is one of the better managers in baseball. So it's like, really, what's the point? And also, I guess where I'm going is at the end of the day, we're nitpicking these decisions and they do need to be nitpicked. But at the end of the day, do a lot of these decisions even matter if the bats come through? At the end of the day, we just need to see how Rob does when the bats come through. I have a feeling that a lot of his decisions would have probably done or been better if we had some decent run support or just had competent runs scored from our team instead of, pretty much having almost none throughout the series at times. So I don't know. Just very curious. I'm curious to see what you guys think. I just wanted to make a little video about this just because, again, I've been talking Phillies so much this last week. But I'm just curious, how is the fan base feeling? How are people feeling in general? Did you want Rob Thompson to come back? Did you want him to be fired and to go in another direction? Let me know. I'm just really curious and would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like. If you like my type of content, feel free to subscribe. I'll be continuing to break down the Phillies, the rest of the MLB playoffs, then we'll get into free agency and all that. But yeah, if you're interested in that stuff, definitely subscribe. Like I said, drop a comment down below. I would love to know what you guys are thinking about this decision. And if you're interested in any of my short-term content, feel free to check that out on TikTok. That will be in my description down below. And if you made it to this far in the video, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.